Okay, this is the what does the government do in your name video. I'll keep it short since all of the links are on the study guide. Uh, but here we go. So the first link here is the basically how Obama bragged about having a kill list. People who, if they pop up on the radar, they get a missile shot at them. And so people were always asking him, who's on this list? And he says, trust me, don't worry, they're bad people, you know. And if you're kind of a government, you know, so think about Machiavelli, he's saying, make a list of people that you need to kill, and then whenever you get a chance, you know, kill them. Not a lot of people talk about it any longer, but I think that they still have this kill list, you know, sort of the FBI's most wanted, except it's global. So the CIA's most wanted, and they're constantly hunting these people down. The next link is drone strikes that kill kids. It's a pitch and act, pitch interactive, and it's a kind of a GIF, not a GIF, it's just a graphic, and it's very visual, and it tells you about the missile strikes that were happening all over the world. It starts with the Bush administration and goes through to the Obama administration, which is why, you know, when Obama came on TV and he would say, "Oh, I'm so upset that all these kids were killed in Sandy Hook or wherever," you know, I just like, man, that is, he's, it looks like he cares about kids, but I mean, kids are dying in other parts of the world because of U.S. foreign policy. No one really seems to care about them. So it bothers me, the hypocrisy and just almost kind of lying of how, like, if he's going to care about the kids in Sandy Hook, okay, fine, as a normal person should. But then what about the compassion of all the kids that are dying all over the world? No love for them. Um, Also, we talked about image, reputation, how politicians have to control what the people know about them. Well, Obama bugged all of the AP News phones because they started running negative stories about Obama. So Obama administration went after the entire news agency to basically censor them. Okay. And the way they do that is you call up the IRS and say, oh, this reporter has tax issues. And that's how you force them to basically back off. And so that story is here. It's from the New York Times. What's fake news? Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious was the selling of U.S. military grade weapons to Mexican drug cartels by the Obama administration. And it's for the purpose of getting rid of these very powerful drug cartels by promising that the cartel that would take these other cartels out, that they would become the new de facto liaison for the American government, because in a lot of ways the drug cartels are more powerful than the government. So tens of thousands of people were killed, and it really doesn't seem to bother anyone here in America. The only way that we found out, Americans found out, was because a federal agent was killed by one of these guns. So they did the ballistics test, and they found that it came from U.S. military stores. Doctors Without Borders. Some of you might aspire to work with Doctors Without Borders. Just make sure that you are not in a hospital that is targeted for destruction by the U.S. military. It was on a Sunday morning, America time, when they did it. But the U.S. military basically missile attacked a hospital, and no one would probably have known about it except Doctors Without Borders were in that hospital. And then also, we had another story from NBC News that basically said that the attack helicopters started shooting at all the people who were running away from the hospital, including probably some of the Doctors Without Borders. Benghazi, if any of you have been following the whole Hillary Clinton saga, then you know that all that crazy stuff that happened, the war that she started in Libya, she said America has to participate. So Americans helped bomb Libya. Then they went after Gaddafi. Well, the problem was that the US was supplying weapons to some of the factions in Libya to help take down Gaddafi. But then once Gaddafi was rubbed out, they wanted to divert the weapons to Syria to help whatever. So it was a gun running operation there, right? So they tell us in America that you can't have weapons, but then they're giving it to terrorists all over the world. It's pretty crazy. Um, so the people who were supposed to get the guns in Libya found out that they weren't going to get the guns. They were really upset and they attacked the US Embassy in Libya. And the US Embassy just had the foreign ambassador, ex CIA guy, in charge of running the gun operation with 4 Navy SEALs, I think. And they were slaughtered, right? They tortured the guy for 7 hours before they finally killed him and put the pictures everywhere. Hillary Clinton heard about it and went to bed. I think a couple movies were made about it, and the whole blow up. That's what led to Clinton's servers being subpoenaed, trying to see if she's telling the truth or not. And then what's crazy is to get the heat off of her, she made up the whole Russiagate thing. And I have the link for that down below. Guantanamo Bay, obviously, Obama, which I thought I was going to give props for Obama. He said, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down Guantanamo Bay because of the torture problem that came up. And he not only did not shut it down, he gave it a $50 million renovation. So that was kind of interesting. And then also an Amish guy, because he was selling a home remedy and he didn't put a label on it that the EPA or the FDA wanted him to put on it, right? But obviously it's a home remedy that he's been selling forever. And FDA says you got to put a label on it. He didn't put a label on it. He's like, I'm Amish. I don't put labels on this stuff. He got a 58-year jail sentence. And it's like, he's Amish, man. What? And understand that the average murderer, if murder sentence is 16 years. And so basically, I mean, he's more dangerous than a murderer, apparently. Let's see. And then I tried to find Trump stuff, right, to make it seem like I'm kind of trying to be balanced, but there's not a whole lot that really is something. A lot of it is subjective with very little basis, but he did do drone strikes when he was in office, and this is when a lot of people started saying, "Oh, he only did that drone strike because his daughter wanted him to do it." Well, lots of people were killed in the strikes, and who's to say that kids weren't affected either? It's really hard to know with these drone strikes who actually dies. And if you watch that other link, the interactive link up earlier, then you see lots of kids die in these drone strikes. It's kind of hard to avoid it. Let's see. Oh, and then apparently under Trump, his drone strikes exceeds Obama's numbers, which is pretty disturbing. Trump tariffs, he kept saying, "Oh, we're going to win by having." They're taxes that Americans have to pay, and so the whole time, it was so infuriating that so many Americans don't understand economics. So that when Trump is saying, "Oh, we're going to win this war against this currency war against China," we were losing the whole entire time, which is why our economy sucks right now. Because he was basically raising taxes on Americans the whole time. It's pretty crazy. Recycling, I mentioned earlier that recycling is a religion in America now. And whether you were for it or not, that's not what I'm talking about, okay? Just talk to my wife. I try to recycle everything, okay? But it's not that. It's the recycling programs here in America, they don't recycle. They just ship all the trash off to China. And so the article that I have here is when Trump started the whole trade war, China said, "Okay, stop sending us your trash then." And so basically tons and tons of trash were piling up on, the docks because China wouldn't take it anymore, right? And so now we had that problem. But that was very, very hush hush, because you didn't want to pop the bubble of all those pro recycling people here in the United States. Like, oh, I'm doing my part, recycling, sorting my trash and stuff. No, it's not being recycled, okay? And probably because it was piling up, they just dumped it in landfills all over America. And if you think about the actual cost of recycling and actually how dirty it is, it's not a very good idea. I think aluminum is the only recycling that actually is economical and actually works, because it's aluminum, right? And then let's see, there's the Hillary Clinton, the author of Russiagate. And a lot of Democrats don't even know that the whole Russia collusion thing was made up by Hillary Clinton, and they're still going after him for it, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, all of that was kind of made up. All the Russians in Russia are like, huh? And it's funny too, because we're complaining that Russia might have done something to interfere with the elections here in America. Okay, but America is involved in every single election all over the world. They got their fingers in everything, meddling. And so it's kind of interesting to me that the hypocrisy that America is going to try to, and if they don't like the person elected, then they do things to try to get them assassinated, to try to remove them from office, destabilize the country. They did this in the Ukraine twice, right? Where they destabilized the country and forced, ousting whoever was the leader of the Ukraine. They did it 12 years ago and then 2 years ago, right? And so all of this stuff going on, no one in America really knows. And this is what's really kind of interesting. And then for kicks, I thought I'd put in the picture of Donald Trump chumming it up with the Clintons there at the end. I'm trying to make the picture really small so it doesn't really make your computer lag when it pulls up the file. But so what's my point? What am I trying to get you to see? Look, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I tried to focus only on the death and destruction that America commits overseas, and the stuff that America has said they're doing to other countries, but in fact they're doing to the American people. And because we're so socialized to trust and believe in the system that we have here in America, that you don't even really see it happening. But personally, for me, because I would just try to remember all of these news stories and try to make sense of it all, that it's horrible, it's barbaric, it's murderous. And you begin to realize why so many other people in the world hate America. It's really, really bad, but we don't care, right? We don't care because the news, politicians keep feeding us certain stories for us to pay attention to. And if we start, and these days it's like they bombard you from several different angles: Trump, insurrection, Corona, right? That it keeps you off balance, so you can never really see what the government is actually doing. And personally, from my perspective, it's there's a lot of dangerous things that are happening for individual liberty, for your ability to choose how it is that you want to live your life. And what it's really coming down to is how well your local government is going to protect you against the federal government. And already we can see that people are migrating to different states to get away from onerous taxes, onerous regulations, and things like that. And there's very little health connection, right? So everything that people are doing, everything that the government says will kill you because of Corona, and nothing's happening. But they're burying it all to maintain certain kind of beliefs on the people. Now, keep in mind, believe what you want. You're free to do that. And I recognize at Temple, you got to wear a mask and social distance and all that other kind of stuff. But if you really listen, it's very contradictory. The biggest, most vocal people about these rules are the biggest violators of these rules, like Fauci, He doesn't wear a mask. As soon as the camera, if you Google YouTube, Fauci taking off his mask, whatever, as soon as he thinks the cameras are off of him, he takes the mask off. He doesn't really believe anything that he says either. But no one cares, right? It's because you're only going to focus on that information which affirms your point of view. Okay, that's fine. But at the same time, what's the cost? What are we giving up in order to have fictitious safety, right? Which is not really there. Yeah, and vaccine is kind of interesting too. This corona vaccine, it's not like other vaccines in the sense that if you got the smallpox vaccine, you're never going to get it, right? But get the corona vaccine and you can still give it to other people. It's just kind of weird, and you can still get it too, which is kind of weird. So what's the point of getting it? I don't know. If you want to get it, more power to you. I'm trying to delay it as much as possible because I think it's just it's what's the point, right? If I still have to wear a mask even after I get it, then why did I get it? If I still have to social distance even after I get the shot, then why am I getting it? It's just kind of all weird to me. It doesn't make any sense at all. But this is your government. And if you say, oh, it doesn't matter because they're really good people, I don't know, right? If Machiavelli laid out all of the rules of the political game, that you pretty much tell people what they want to hear, you lie to them and it's okay as long as you tell the right lies to the right people. Okay, but I don't know. I don't want to play that game. I think half of America doesn't want to play that game too. If you look at voting totals, I think a lot of people just don't vote at all. The silent majority is what I like to call it. Uh, yeah, we're dissatisfied. We don't like what we see, but what's the alternative? And so that's what I'm going to try to present to you. Government is not the solution. Government is often the source of the problem, especially when you look at all the stuff that's going on, especially Machiavelli's explanation of how government works. So then what's the alternative? And that's what we're going to get into next week. So this week's videos, pretty much, I'm trying to get you to see maybe, I'm not saying that all politicians are bad. Obviously, there are some honest ones, but what's really going on behind closed doors? Who's really benefiting from a lot of this, these laws and regulations? And it's never who you think it is. But I'll leave it at there. You can do your research and do your deconstruction as you see fit. But just understand that the government is playing a game. And if you don't know what the field is, you don't know what the rules are, then you're just being played. All right, so I will see you next time, probably later this week in one of those virtual office hour things.